tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
I think it's the start of another stage of reconciliation and acknowledgement.
Across the country, healing and mourning after a local First Nation says the remains of hundreds of kids were found near Kamloops.
There's only a handful of us that are still alive.
How Indigenous communities are calling for urgent action and accountability. Also,
it does not excuse the fact that it should not have happened.
An error, why some BC teens were given the wrong COVID vaccine.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Across the country tonight, an outpouring of grief and growing calls for the federal government to take action. They stem from a horrifying discovery near Kamloops. The Kamloops Teshkwetmik First Nation says the remains of 215 children have been found through a ground survey at a former residential school. And today at the site itself, there's a lot of pain as people try to make sense of what's happened. But as Briar Stewart tells us, there's also a feeling that this is only the beginning.
Stephanie Guterres set to work tying 215 pairs of shoes in front of the former residential school, a visual symbol of immense loss.
Those children, you know, they were here. It hurts. It hurts so much.
It's deeply personal. Her grandmother was a student here.
And she survived. These children didn't survive.
She says this small task is helping her heal. Others, too, have been drawn here.
When we take care of that spirit.
Vivian Sandy's younger brother was a student here. He died by suicide when he was in his 30s.
He took his life. It was too torture what he went through.
She believes the burial ground, which appears to have been found in the shadow of the residential school, is not the only one. There are now renewed calls across Canada to search for and document other unmarked graves.
But they're going to dig up all the rest of them across Canada and Yukon and free all these children.
Thousands of children died while in residential schools. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission found that most bodies were not returned home.
And that is going to be a challenging conversation for communities about how to receive the children back.
Mike Bowden is with the Kamloops School District, where flags are flying at half-mast. Staff are trying to figure out how to help children understand what's happened and what comes next.
This is really the start of another stage of healing. And we're a bit at ground zero.
Another ceremony is being held tonight to honor the children. The Kamloops Teshkwetmik First Nation is now awaiting a final report detailing what the ground surveyors found. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Kamloops.
And the tragedy has prompted sadness and solidarity from politicians today. As Michelle Gassoub tells us, some say making amends is the least government can do.
A time of reflection and mourning. This little girl paying tribute with a dance meant to heal. Others placing teddy bears by their front doors. Children all across the province wearing orange shirts in honor of those sent to residential schools. From Vancouver to Ottawa, flags are at half-mast.
For survivors of the residential school atrocities, they live it every day. Their children are also living it, and their grandchildren are living it. It is not something that happened in the past. It is something that is going on right now.
An acknowledgement of the shock and pain from politicians today.
And the events in Kamloops over the weekend bring that home graphically to all British Columbians, all Canadians, and indeed the international community.
As a dad, I can't imagine what it would feel like to have my kids taken away from me. And as Prime Minister, I'm appalled by the shameful policy that stole Indigenous children from their communities.
Federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is calling on the federal government to search the grounds of other former residential schools.
We all mourn the loss of those children. But to honor their lives, we need to move beyond words to action.
Residential school survivor Bob Baker knows all too well the Kamloops school many Canadians are hearing about for the first time.
There's always that lurking bad feeling that something wasn't right, and Kamloops was a hard place to go to school.
He remembers the whispers about the children who never made it home.
We knew that Kamloops there were rumors about that one as well. When I heard that they had found bodies, I wasn't surprised.
Not surprised, but still deeply hurt. Baker hopes this will be the moment Canada will choose to make things right. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
That story can bring back traumatic memories or feelings of loss, sadness, or anger. There is help available. You can reach the 24-hour Indian Residential School Survivor Society crisis line at 1-866-925-4419. The CUS crisis line is another option. For adults, the number is 250-723-4050, and youth can call 250-723-2040. That information is also available on our website, cbc.ca/BC. The province's top doctor is calling it unfortunate that at least a dozen BC teens were mistakenly given the wrong COVID vaccine. Tanya Fletcher is here with the latest on this story. We first brought it to you yesterday. Tanya, what is the provincial health officer saying about the mix-up?
Dr. Bonnie Henry calls it an error, but she doesn't believe there was any clinical harm. Now, all 12 cases involved teenagers in Vancouver Coastal Health last week. Well, currently the Pfizer vaccine is the only one approved for use in young people. She says Moderna has done its own trials on those as young as 12, and the results are ready. It's expected that data will be submitted for approval in the next few weeks.
And that it does not excuse the fact that it should not have happened, and that the immunizers certainly need to disclose, which I understand they did to the parents and to the young people who received the vaccine in error. And we have put in more processes in our clinics to try and make sure we're not mixing up vaccines.
Now, as for what those young people will now receive as their second dose, well, assuming Moderna will be approved for use in the 12+ very soon, as she expects, then the youth who did accidentally receive Moderna for their first shot will get Moderna for their second shot as well.
Quite the mix-up indeed. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here, Tanya. There's concern around the global rise of certain COVID variants. How likely is it they could derail BC's restart plans, especially if variants outpace vaccinations?
Yeah, the biggest concern right now is the B.1.617.2 variant, which originated in India. There are mounting studies, especially out of the UK, that show a big gap in protection against that variant among people who've had just one dose versus people who've had both doses. So if that strain continues to spread and becomes more prevalent in BC, might the province adjust its reopening accordingly? Well, at this point, Dr. Henry doesn't foresee restrictions differing depending on whether people have had one dose or two. She says that's why BC's restart plan is not solely predicated on immunizations, but rather a combination of factors.
It is a key consideration and why we have shortened that interval for second doses. Now that we have the supply to do that, we want to be able to get as best protection we can and as many people we can as quickly as possible.
And she adds the province is also now scaling up screening. They're now doing whole genome sequencing with every positive case. Anita?
Thanks, Tanya. BC is reporting 11 more COVID-19 deaths and 708 new cases since Friday. Hospitalizations are the lowest since early March, 249 patients. 78 of those are in critical care. More than 66% of people 12 and older have had at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. A Campbell River family is mourning their teenage son tonight after the 14-year-old died of a suspected drug overdose this past weekend. RCMP are investigating. They say the teen died Saturday, but aren't releasing any more details. They are asking anyone with information to contact them.
We want to know as much as we possibly can about what happened to the young man in his last hours that led to this.
4 other people under 18 have died this year as a result of suspected toxic drugs, including a 12-year-old Victoria girl. And near Port Renfrew, hundreds of protesters have flooded back into old-growth blockade camps cleared by the RCMP. As Kieran Odzern reports, the sheer number of people in opposition is slowing enforcement of the BC Supreme Court injunction to logging in the area.
So today we're here at the Pacific Marine Highway that's been blocked by people's cars and people who have chained themselves to some of the vehicles. And there's arrests that are taking place right behind me right now. There's vehicles that were several, 100 meters that way and going up the road towards Braden, Maine. There's more vehicles that are in the way and there's more people who are setting up and blocking the road. Part of this process is that there's more people at some of the camps these days, so it means that they're pushing their blockades out further beyond Waterfall Camp, beyond Bridge Camp, and down into this space. Kieran Odzern, CBC News, near Port Renfrew.
As of tomorrow, BC is set to have one of the highest minimum wages in Canada.
Once we achieved at least $15 minimum wage here in British Columbia, that we tie it to inflation. And that's what our intention is.
Minimum wage goes up to $15.20 per hour tomorrow. 4 years ago, BC had one of the lowest wages at $11.35. The lower liquor server wage of $13.95 has also been eliminated. That means servers' earnings will match the minimum wage of the rest of the province. Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joins us now with the forecast. Joe, I've decided I'm getting out the kiddie pool tonight, filling it up with some water for my little girl tomorrow.
That is the best idea. And if I rotated my camera slightly, you would see our kiddie pool that I also just blew up today. So yes, the forecast is set. I've just got to show you the current, the temperatures this evening, because while it's warm out there, we've got high teens in through YVR, mid-20s out towards the valley. Check out the humidex, a word we have not pulled out yet this season. It is muggy, and it is going to get even muggier over the next couple of days. So yes, pools, beaches, air conditioning even. I've got the full forecast coming up, Anita.
Oh, bold on the AC. Wow.
I did it. You're welcome.
Well, the Burnaby Mountain Ladies Golf Club is celebrating 50 years of play and camaraderie tomorrow, a day that also happens to be Women's Golf Day. Now, one of its longest tenured members is Moira Colburn. She's been with the club for 43 years. And as Liam Britton tells us, the game has meant more to her during the pandemic than perhaps ever before.
In a difficult year, golf has kept Moira Colburn in the swing of things.
Oh, I like it. I like using my driver when I connect and you hear that nice sound. I enjoy it, and I get mad at myself when I can't get the putter working.
Turned again.
Yes, I'm still very competitive to myself.
At 85, Colburn is one of the longest tenured members of the Burnaby Mountain Ladies Golf Club. The club is celebrating 50 years this week, and Colburn has been swinging, pitching, chipping, and occasionally slicing for 43 of them.
And I just love it. The women are lovely. It's lots of fun.
Golf isn't Colburn's first athletic passion. She was a high-level field hockey player, coach, and manager.
She played for Canada's national team in international tournaments in 1959 and 1971. She's been inducted into the BC Sports Hall of Fame for her contributions to field hockey. But in 1973, she developed ulcerative colitis. She needed major surgery and had to quit playing at a high level.
And so the doctor said, get Moira doing something, buy her golf clubs. And so my husband bought me golf clubs. And I was strong physically, so I really, could hit the ball well.
She joined the Burnaby Mountain Ladies Club in 1978.
That is good.
But this year, it's been about more than being over or under par.
Yeah, mine do anyway.
It's been about beating isolation when so many social outlets have been curtailed due to the pandemic.
You got to chat while you're playing your 18 holes, so it's wonderful. You're talking with people, and that's what we found in our club here, that it was really difficult. And they were all excited when we finally could get back and we could do 18 holes of golf.
Down there?
Playing the game at 85 is no small feat, but Colburn has no plans to slow down. She wants to play until she's 90 at least.
I sure hope I can. I feel very, very good. I'm very lucky.
And why not? For almost all her years, athletic success is just par for the course.
Woo! I did it!
Liam Britton, CBC News, Burnaby.
You sure did. Great shot. Okay, during the NHL playoffs on CBC, just a reminder of how and where you can watch this show. We will be on every weekday at 6 p.m. online, streaming on CBC Gym, YouTube, and Facebook. And then we'll be on air on television after the hockey game each evening. Those times, of course, will vary depending on when the game starts and when it ends. You can always watch our show on demand, streaming at our website, cbc.ca/BC. All right, that couch you've been eyeing online, well, it's about to get a lot more expensive. What's behind the surge in furniture prices next. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Well, a unique sport is growing in popularity on PEI. Charlottetown Junior Roller Derby is full at about 17 members. The league is looking to expand but needs more coaches. Take a look.
So we have Lucky Charms, we have Vengeful Vixen, we have Anarchy.
And my derby name is Rebel Rebel. The Squirrels. It's Murphy's Law. It's Rabies. It's Bella Nutella.
Coach Vixen. So I think that's part of the individuality, part of the empowerment is really when you're on the track, you can be whoever you want.
What I like about roller derby is how everyone's so welcoming when you first join. It teaches me a lot of things like friendship and inclusive things. It uses a lot of teamwork and perseverance.
I just really like skating. I can go really fast.
So we practice every Tuesday night. We have youth between the ages of 9 and 15. We do take youth up to the age of 17, so they're doing their minimum skills training.
Roller derby teaches balance, it teaches how to work together as a team.
They taught me how to stop, how to spin, and just in general how to skate.
As soon as we get a skater out on the track, it's first thing they learn is how to fall safely.
You will always fall down. No one's perfect. You'll always make mistakes.
All the time. I already fell today.
It doesn't hurt too much anymore.
I just get back up.
You just get right back up.
Just get right back up. I get back up and keep roller skating.
The best part is making friendships.
They're all really nice and really fun to talk to. Like you have a chance to be with other people who like to roller skate.
I like how everyone's so supportive and loving. There's a lot of LGBTQ plus members and everyone's so supporting about it and it's really awesome.
This season we have 17 skaters. We would really like to take on more. Right now we're kind of maxed out with the coaches that we have. So, you know, if you're out there and you want to coach, we're looking for you.
I just think it's a really fun thing that might interest a lot of people. And if people ask you what you like to do, you can say roller skate.
Fun stuff. Not sure I'll be trying that anytime soon, but hey. All right, we'll be back in a few moments with more national news. Stick with us. The Canadian government is set to approve a special border exemption for the NHL playoffs. It will apply to teams playing in the Stanley Cup semifinals and finals. Players would be able to cross the border between Canada and the United States without quarantining. But of course, they'll have to follow strict daily COVID-19 testing protocols and remain in bubbles in their hotels and arenas. A formal announcement could come as early as this week. Well, Ottawa recently imposed heavy tariffs on furniture imported from China and Vietnam to help Canadian manufacturers. It was supposed to stop the flood of cheap products undercutting domestic goods. Jacqueline Hansen explains how a move meant to level the playing field is actually leading to sticker shock.
At this furniture store in Victoria, BC, the recent price jump is staggering. This $2,000 couch is now $6,000.
This is going to have a huge effect on our business.
Half the upholstered couches and chairs sold here are imported from China and Vietnam and are now subject to a new tariff of up to 300%.
I've canceled almost 35 containers of product coming until the end of the year. That's $1 million of sales.
The tariff is in response to a complaint filed by Manitoba-based furniture producer Palliser. It claims that government-subsidized producers in China and Vietnam are selling furniture in Canada for far under market value. Palliser says the imports have caused injury and are threatening to cause further injury to the Canadian industry. The timing isn't a surprise to this trade lawyer.
Is if you know that under both President Trump and President Biden that they're also targeting that particular industry, why not see what Canada would do if you make the same complaint here?
But in the U.S., tariffs on furniture from China have been somewhat easier to swallow, first 10, then 25%.
We would love to absorb the cost, but we can't pay for people to take product. I mean, it's not good business to do that.
No.
Ottawa-based LD Shop spells out the impact for its Canadian customers. What was its bestseller now comes with a tariff that costs almost as much as the chair itself.
The legislative intent in this specific case was really good, but I think in this case, it didn't protect the entire supply chain.
But some local manufacturers support it.
It's justified, maybe 10 years too late.
This owner says it finally recognizes Canadian furniture makers are being undercut and simply can't compete.
How is it that a piece of furniture can arrive in Canada for less than just our raw material cost is? And we're only asking for it to be fair. That's all.
The Canada Border Services Agency is still investigating. A decision on whether or not these tariffs are permanent will follow. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
A big announcement out of China today. The ruling Communist Party is changing its strict rules on the size of families, now allowing couples to have as many as 3 children. The change includes financial support such as lower costs for education, tax and housing breaks, and legal protections for working women. It comes after data showed a dramatic decline in births. Beijing scrapped its old one policy back in 2016 to counteract its rapidly aging population. But so far, that has not led to higher birth rates. It's a landmark at the legislature. The knowledge totem was raised in 1990. So why is it coming down? That's next.
These are the trains of the 80s, 2.5 kilometers long, loaded with 11,000 tons of coal bound for Japan.
We move an average of about 20 trains a day in both directions. To move more than, let us say, maybe 25 trains on a consistent basis, the capacity is just not in our present system to be able to do that.
Through the Rockies, the trains are still running on routes that were chosen for another era. CN and CP agree that major surgery will be necessary to cope with the 50% increase in traffic that's forecast for the 80s.
If we want to expand our export capabilities out of Western Canada, I think it's essential that the railway capacity, not only in this area, but throughout Western Canada, be put into place.
Symbolic last spike ceremonies are back, as both railroads press ahead with completion of double tracking projects that are designed to straighten out local bottlenecks. But as yet unresolved is the problem of financing the landmark projects that must soon be tackled, like finding a new way for the trains through the Rogers Pass. The answer, says the CPR, is a tunnel that would run 16 kilometers deep inside the heart of this mountain range. But to build that tunnel, probably one of the longest in the world, would cost $300 million. The grain trains hold the key. Both railways say they could finance such projects if they were relieved of their obligation to subsidize the shipment of prairie grain. The so-called Crow rate structure was made law in 1920s and has been jealously protected by the farmers ever since. Grain accounts for a quarter of the train traffic today, and the companies say they're losing millions each year on the business.
That tunnel has to be built in order to put us in the position to have the sufficient capacity to move into the late 1980s and the early 1990s. But we can't move ahead with that unless there is a resolution of the Crow grain rate, because without a resolution of the Crow grain rate, we're really not financially viable.
On the prairies, there are signs that the farmers are at long last ready to back off on an issue that until now has always been too politically sensitive for governments to touch.
I myself wouldn't mind paying a reasonable increase in freight rates, but I think, you know, if the railways want a substantial increase, I would think the whole, all the people in Canada should be subsidizing the railway in this.
The federal government has already indicated it's ready to make a new deal with the railroads. That seems likely to herald a new golden age for railroading in the West. Colin Holt, CBC News, Vancouver.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
From June 1st to July 1st, join the Talking Stick Festival around the bright fire of summer sojourn. See vibrant Indigenous performance, art, film, and more. Learn more at fullcircle.ca. And on June 23rd, join CBC Vancouver's Anita Bathe for UBC Dialogue's latest conversation, Medical Innovations. Where is technology leading us? Get your tickets at alumni.ubc.ca.
A Victoria landmark will be conspicuously absent. The knowledge totem on the front lawn of the legislature has been taken down to be refurbished. For the next 10 weeks, the totem will be in the hands of Doug August, a member of the Cowichan tribes. August plans to bring students from the Songhees Nation to learn on the project. Doug, also with his father, carved and raised the totem back in 1990. Johanna Wagstaffe is back with the forecast. Joe, I feel like meteorologists are so much more loved when this sunny weather is coming in. Is that the case?
I'm not going to lie. Yes, it works both ways, though. You know, right now people see me on the street and throw flowers my way.
Of course.
Just kidding. But the reverse is also true when people don't get what they want. So I always like to give a shout out to Mother Nature when possible. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar and see what she's got for us today. We've got a high pressure ridge that built in over the weekend. I was maybe not being loved yesterday when those showers snuck through the ridge. This is what we call a dirty ridge. I don't make up these terms. This high pressure is strong in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but not so in the bottom levels. So moisture snuck through yesterday, and that's actually what's bringing us the mugginess today. So it's not a true high pressure ridge, but it is building and shifting eastward, which is why tomorrow and Wednesday looking much sunnier. We've had a lot more cloud around under this ridge the past couple of days, and I think we can keep it very summer-like, very southern Ontario-like indeed, right through until Thursday. So you can see how warm those temperatures are tomorrow, seeing the heat right across the interior. And in fact, we could be approaching the high 30s for the southern Okanagan for Tuesday and Wednesday. So there's our 2 days of true summer, Tuesday and Wednesday. Anita, it looks like it breaks down for Thursday. At that point, we'll probably want the rain, and I'll be a hero again. Can't wait.
You're always a hero in my books, Joe.
Thanks, Anita.
Thanks. Well, you can always find our news program online at cbc.ca/BC. Next local news is here at 11 o'clock after the National with Dan Britt. We'll leave you with a march of remembrance in Whitehorse today. The thousands of marchers all silent except for the beating of the drums as they remember the lives lost at the Indian residential schools.